Happy Wednesday. We're here with Marissa down in North Carolina. And we've got a great trip report show for you. So hang out with us. And we're going to talk about herding cats and celebrating a 50th birthday, which actually we just did here in our house this past week for my wife. And I will be doing that myself here later this year. So we're going to have a good time. 17-person trip to Coronado. This is like Coronado month. We're celebrating all things Coronado. Yep. Totally random, but it's because it's awesome. So
it was so good.
Yes. All right. So this is going to be episode 2255. Dogs out. Let's see. Make sure everything's good here. Turn Twitter off so I'm not distracted. Otherwise, I get Twitter. Close that. All right. Phone's muted. Okay, I think we're good. Here we go. Welcome to episode 2255 of the Be Our Guest Walt Disney World Trip Planning Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Rallman from BeOurGuestPodcast.com and one of the senior agents over at the Magic for Less Travel. Happy Monday to you. Hope you had another wonderful weekend with friends and family. And, of course, most importantly, hope your brackets did not get busted already. But you know what? I'm a Mizzou fan, so I guarantee I've already taken my brackets and balled them up and threw them in a trash can. But you never know. Hope springs eternal. Maybe my Tigers are still alive, but we're recording this early, so I don't hold out a ton of hope, but just a sliver. We'll see what happens. But anyway, we are here to talk Disney, and we've got so much good stuff to talk about. A very recent trip, just a couple of weeks ago, because we had a last minute cancellation. Our guest jumped in. I said, "Oh, you're going to bail me out because we're going to talk about your trip just a couple of weeks back, and because it's so unique, and we're going to have a good time today." And we're talking about Coronado Springs again. I know it's officially Coronado Springs month, appreciation month here on the Be Our Guest podcast because it's awesome. So joining us today, we're heading down to North Carolina with listener Marissa. Marissa, thanks for coming on the show. Happy Monday.
My pleasure. The trip is fresh on our mind. We actually just got home Saturday night. So this past Saturday night. So we're still, you have that post Disney blues everybody feels. We're like, and the best way to get over that is already planning the next one.
You got that right. Amen. That's totally exactly right. And, with most of our shows, a lot of times there's a delay between the time that the trip happens and the time we get to talk about it here on the show, because I never turn anybody away. You ask, you want to come on the show? I say, you got the next available slot. Unfortunately, though, since I never say no, right now we're booking out into October. So because we had this cancellation, you got to jump right in. And so this will be really fresh, really good for everybody to kind of hear what was happening right now down at Coronado and all of the theme parks, and especially with your unique group. But first, let me ask you a couple questions. So you said you're originally from New York, but you're now living in North Carolina. So we're trying to learn a little bit more about our community, our listeners. So what is something unique to the place you live that maybe people might like to know? Like what's unique about your little corner of the world that you're in right now?
Well, North Carolina, very well known for their barbecue. Nice. Pulled pork barbecue, very big here. College basketball, also very big here. But actually right where I live, and it's the reason we picked this area, it's a very horse-friendly community. My husband and I, we have a horse farm, and that's what I do for a living. I'm a riding instructor, horse trainer, and we board horses, and it's a very horsey community. So we kind of found a little corner of a little slice of heaven where we could surround ourselves with like-minded people. And I found tons of Disney fans in that community as well.
I see. I love that. I mean, the thing is, we all have this love of Disney, but it's like, I didn't know that. And that's such a cool way to earn a living. We all have these different ways that, we follow our passions and do that. And wow, boarding horses and all that stuff. I've only been on a horse a couple times, and I do have a white cowboy hat from my line dancing days back in the 90s. So maybe I'll have to come out of North Carolina, bust out the hat, and pretend like I'm George Strait or something someday.
Absolutely. We'll get you up there.
What do you now? I don't know if you've ever gone over to Try Circle D.
I have. I was much younger when we did it, but it was a ton of fun, and it's a totally attainable thing for even the most timid of riders, or so you've never been on a horse. It's totally awesome. The horses there are very tame. They're very well broke, and it's a scenic, lovely. I mean, it's hot. It's hot and buggy out there with the horses, but it is a really fun time. It's probably more fun for people who don't know how to ride,
Yeah.
because it's so kind of laid back. For someone like me, or maybe your horse crazy 12-year-old daughter who's been taking lessons or whatever, might find it a little boring because it's just walking, but it is a ton of fun for if you've never done it before. Definitely give it a try.
Yeah, they probably don't want like Secretariat over there,
Right.
and all of a sudden you're going from Wilderness Lodge over to the Polynesian. They probably don't want that.
Exactly,
Not a good idea.
exactly.
I like it though. Okay, one other question though. So, what's your background with Disney? Why are you listening to Disney podcasts? Like, how did it all start for you? How did this passion happen?
When I was a kid, my dad worked for an insurance company, and every year he would make their big leadership conference, the big yearly thing where all the top salesmen get to go. And every year it was at Disney. So our big annual family trip was always to Disney. And it, happened right at my real formative, years, between like the time I was about 6 to, high school. We would go every single year. And it just reminds me, of my happy childhood. And it was always that thing you look forward to every year. And I have a feeling it pushed my dad to work a little bit harder to, make that leadership conference every year, so that we could all go. And that's what we would do. That was our big family getaway. And I just sort of, it just spoke to me. And as I got older, that's really the only place I ever wanted to go, because it just always made me happy when I was there. It's, you don't worry about stuff. The outside world goes away.
Right.
The Mickey walking down the street becomes actual Mickey Mouse.
Totally.
You can suspend disbelief for the time that you're there and just, be a kid and enjoy it. But that's, where my love of it came from. The rest of my family are big. They're big, and they were all with me this time. But the rest of my family, very huge Disney fans as well. Maybe not quite as big as I am. We went the extra mile. We bought DVC. We're DVC owners, and annual pass holders. My husband and I, and that's where we go to find our happy every year, or sometimes multiple times a year.
Hey, you're speaking to the choir here. Everything you just said, I'm like, yep, I'm just nodding right along here. You're exactly right. No, let me ask you one thing though before we hop into the trip, because so much to talk about. But looking back over those years where you got to go as like a teen, and in your
Mhm.
formative years, like you said, is there one experience that you just wish could come back one more time? Like I lament when I first started going, we would end the Magic Kingdom night with Spectral Magic every time we were
Mhm.
there, and it was like when Paige, who's 26 now, was like 7 or 8 or 5. It
Yeah.
was just, that was the real world didn't exist when we were sitting on the curb in Fantasy, or usually in Frontierland, watching the second parade, and on an August night, just watching Spectre Magic. Like, the world was perfect. If I could have that again, that's what I would love to have. Is there something like that you remember from like growing up that you wish you could have that experience again that's gone?
Yeah, very similar to Spectral Magic. My favorite thing was always Main Street Electrical Parade. Like that music, you'd hear those opening notes of that song, the Baroque Hoedown that they would play.
Mm-hmm.
It was the ringtone on my phone for the longest time. And I miss that. I miss that nighttime parade. I still can't figure out why that's gone away. But family lining up, sitting on a garbage can, you
Yep.
know, or sitting on my dad's shoulders, and the Pete's Dragon float would come down and smoke coming out of his nose. And it was surreal. And like, when you're a kid, something that big and bright and happy, and the characters come over and they pat you on the head when you're a little kid, and that's the highlight of your whole existence is, Tigger came over and touched me. He touched my
Yeah.
head, he shook my hand. But yeah, the nighttime parade, I miss that. I miss
Yeah.
that. You're right. It was a special way to cap off the night. It feels like the nights are still missing something.
Yeah, and so I get to go to a media preview for the Disney 100 stuff at Disneyland next week out there, and one of the things we're getting to see is that new Disneyland nighttime parade, which I'm more excited than a 49-year-old dude should be, because and my only lament is that I'm going solo, because it's like it's a
Right.
media thing. So, but I just wish everybody says, oh, the crowds are too big. They're not too big at the Magic Kingdom. They're Disney. They could make this work if they wanted to. There's traffic flows, because it was just like you said. I mean, we didn't have near the means back then, and like when Paige was little, we could barely afford to stay for 5 or 6 nights at All-Star Sports, and we didn't have park hoppers. We definitely didn't have annual passes, but those were still the best days just because everything we're just like wide-eyed, and the music and the,
Yep.
scary trumpeters, and it was weird, the ostriches dancing around. I don't know. It was
Yep.
like, it was a bizarre parade, I
It was
don't
like
know.
like a fever dream that
Yeah,
you're
totally was.
stuck
Like,
in.
I'm not really selling it very well. I'm just kind of like, yeah, if I bring that back, it's just going to scare the crap out of kids or something. I don't know. It was weird, but it was a great parade. Okay, so let's talk about your trip though. So 17 people. You guys were down at Coronado Springs. So exactly when did you go? But more importantly, how did this come together? Because it's hard to kind of get what do they say in the American Adventure, to get 12 or 30 clocks or 13 clocks striking at the same time, whatever. I'm not Ben Franklin, but to get everybody coordinated, like,
Yeah.
how does this story get rolling for you?
So my older sister, I'm the middle child of three. I have an older sister and a younger sister. My older sister is turning 50. It's okay to say it out loud because she
No,
said it first.
It's a big year.
That's right. It's a big year.
73 must have been a good year, right around there, because I'm saying
It's a good year. Exactly. So she started thinking about things that she wanted for her birthday. And my brother-in-law told her, the sky's the limit. You want to go to Europe? What do you want to do? And my younger sister is not the Disney fan that the rest of us are. She's also the only one that has children. So my nieces and nephews, who are now 1, 4, and 6. And basically, unless one of us takes those kids to Disney, they were not going to get to experience it. Mom was not about to load them up into a car and take them to Disney. So my older sister, you know what I want for my 50th?
I think that somebody's gonna take them in your family. It sounds like.
Oh yeah, somebody would have taken them.
The way you're talking, I'm not really too worried for the kids. They're
right,
they're
gonna get there. So for her 50th, what she decided is, I want to take all my nieces and nephews, and I want everybody to go to Disney World. Well, apparently everybody really meant everybody. So that was 17. And a spoiler alert: at times during the trip, we ballooned to 22 people. At one point, we were close to 30 because other family members came in and spent the day with us and then left. It was.
What, you guys make friends?
It was. Speaking of fever dream, yeah, it was a little surreal. So she decided that this is what she wanted. She could have had anything in the world. And my sister and brother-in-law do very well for themselves, and so they paid for 17 of us to go to Disney World together. Now, at that point, you can't say no. You can't say, no, I don't want to go on the crazy train. So you have to everybody get on board. It's happening. This is how it is. So it was myself and my husband, my mother and my father, who were in their mid-70s, my older sister, her husband, my younger sister and her husband, their 3 kids, 1, 4, and 6. My brother-in-law's mother, also in her mid-70s, and then my cousin and her husband and their 3 boys, who are a teenager, a high school student, and then the boys are, I believe, 7 and 5. So we kind of ran the gamut from infant, just barely a toddler, all the way up to seniors, teenagers, 30-somethings, 40-somethings, and the 50-somethings. So we, like Pop Century, we covered everything.
Yeah, the decades covered. Absolutely.
Right. We had all the decades covered.
Some of the 50s, some of the 90s. So let me ask you this, though, because I want to make sure we cover everything. So we got a lot. Don't get it all in here, but like pre-trip, okay? Because, you have different segments of the family all going, and you gotta get the logistics nailed down. Like, right, when are we going to be there? Where are we going to eat? And what does everybody want to get out of this vacation? Because the teenagers' idea of a good vacation is obviously going to be different than the 50-year-old birthday person's idea. Yeah. So how did you guys have did you use technology? Did you have in-person meetings? How'd you get that done?
So we did a lot of FaceTime with each other. But you ever go on those trips with other people and they're like, whatever you want to do is fine.
I know. And then I'm nervous wreck when people say that, because then I feel like
we'll do whatever you want. And then 20, like the day before, like, could we get a reservation at Victoria and Albert? You're like, no, what's wrong with you? You've got to book this 60 days out.
Story of my life, by the way.
we figured what parks we wanted to hit. We did Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, Animal Kingdom, a second day at Magic Kingdom, and we didn't do Epcot, much to the adults in the party's chagrin, but we also were doing this trip mostly for the kids. So we figured if we were on limited time, we wanted to try to do the things we thought the younger kids at that age would enjoy, which, if recalling myself at that age, was not going to be Epcot. But
It's
we
gotten
also
better.
play. It's my favorite park now as an adult. I totally get Epcot. So we also planned a rest day in the middle. So it was going to be Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios, a rest day at the pool, just chilling, and then Animal Kingdom, Magic Kingdom, and then we'd leave. So we had that nailed down, and that's when my sister dropped the bomb on me. Hey, do you think you could get us reservations at Cinderella's Royal Table for
Not
a
a
party of
problem.
17? I'm
Yeah,
like,
17.
oh yeah, that's totally fine. Oh, and you know what would also be really cool? How about Chef Mickey's? I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
you're killing me. You're
Yeah.
killing me. So 60 days out, that morning, I'm on the phone, and what I had to do is call, because you can't make you can't make a reservation for 17. That's just
Nope.
not a thing. So I knew I was gonna have to break it up into smaller reservations. So we did 3 reservations of 6, so that it was covering 18 people, just in case somebody else magically appeared, which happened. And so I called, and a great cast member on the phone explained to her what was going on, no problem. And she got us 3, essentially back to back, all within 15 minutes of each other's, the reservations at Cinderella's Royal Table for like a late lunch, and then for Chef Mickey's for breakfast, but a late breakfast. I figured everybody tries to do the pre-park or the early breakfast.
Yes.
So that we did that on our off day, our rest day. So breakfast was at like 10. And
That's a
so we
great
didn't have
call.
yeah.
I 100% tip there. 2 ways you can do it. Rest day, like a pool day, go late, go like 10 o'clock, 10:30.
Mhm.
Also, what we learned, because the only time we could get it one time was we decided it was the only time we get an ADR and we really wanted to go. This when Mallory was young, is that we got one for like 10:30, but
Mhm.
the park opened that day for like resort guests like 8. So what we did was we had like a Pop-Tart, went to the Magic Kingdom and rope dropped from 8 to 10:30. And then we were super starving by the time, we had like a little snack that kind of tied us over for those first couple hours. Then we went over and just tore up Chef Mickey's at 10:30, didn't even need lunch, and we're good till dinner. And it worked out
Yeah.
great because we got so much done in those first couple hours. And then boom, over to Chef Mickey's, just walked right over. It's great. Good
Yeah,
tip.
it worked out really well. And I'm sure everybody who has ever gotten one of those hard to get reservations that they've really tried, when you do that, suddenly you feel like you're king of the world. You'll suddenly
Oh, yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio on
Yeah,
the front of the
totally. Yeah.
Titanic. I'm king of the world. Yeah. So I was feeling pretty good about myself after that. So I told everybody all about that. And of course, the ones they're Disney fans, but a lot of them don't really get that. So they're like, oh, good, she got us reservations. That's nice. I'm like, you don't understand how much effort went into
Yeah,
it.
it's like it's Benihana or something. Yeah, exactly.
Right. Nobody wants to see how the sausage is made. Exactly. So we had all that done. Everything was set. One of the other special things I had planned was to have a cake made by a local baker. There are a lot of cast members that were furloughed during COVID, who all started sort of like little side businesses. A lot of them do baking, some of them do catering, some of them do transportation services to and from the airport. Pretty much anything you can think of that somebody out there who was a cast member or is one now has these little like side hustles. And I found them through a Facebook group, and it was really fantastic. And I had arranged with one of them to have a custom birthday cake made. She's a huge Donald Duck fan. Everything about my sister is Donald Duck. She has a little rivalry with Daisy. She jokes about because my sister claims that Donald Duck is her boyfriend and not Daisy's. So the baker managed to incorporate that into the cake. So we arranged to have that delivered on our rest day that we were going to spend at the pool, and all that was going to be really good. So all the pre-planning stuff was working out great. The family flew in from New York. They're all up in New York. We're in North Carolina, so my husband and I drove. And but the nice thing is, at least for us, we drove and actually got there before they did. They ended up taking a late afternoon flight, so they didn't get in and their flight was a little bit delayed. They didn't wind up getting to the hotel until it was like 8, 9 o'clock at night. Meanwhile, we rolled into Orlando around noon. And
Nice.
so we have annual passes, and we weren't going to go to Epcot with the kids. So we went to Epcot, my husband and I, for a couple hours when we first got there, mostly because the Garden Rocks Flower and Garden concert stuff was going on, and Daughtry was playing. And I'm a big Daughtry fan from back in the American Idol days.
There you go.
And I was said, we have to go and see Daughtry. We have to do that. So we got to just enjoy a couple hours alone by ourselves in our favorite park. And that was super awesome. And I also met up with a friend of mine from high school who I hadn't seen in, oh my goodness, since high school. So we're going, many, 30, I don't do math. I was told there would be no math on this podcast.
There will not be.
Okay.
We're not doing that. It's Monday.
and he and his family live in right outside Orlando. So we met up with them, and that was really nice. And every time I go to Disney, I swear I bump into people who I know all the time. And so that was really cool. And then we still had, at this point, it's like 5:00, and we still hadn't gotten our room text, which I thought was kind of strange.
But what did you get the text that said your room is not ready?
I did.
Okay, good.
I got the text.
Everybody gets that text. Yeah,
I got the email. I got the push notification. Like, they wanted me to know.
Yeah, your room's is still not ready.
Yet.
It's still not ready. Yeah, exactly.
Thanks for letting me know that. Yeah, no, they were letting everybody know. So the room's not ready. They're flying in. They're texting me from the plane, and they haven't gotten their stuff yet either. Finally, I get my text, and I look at the thing, and it says that we have a room first floor, whatever it is, in Casitas building, whatever. I'm like, great. I look it up on the map. Seems like a decent location. Since I know nothing about Coronado, we've never stayed there. And then my sister texts me, oh, we got our room text. We're staying in the Ranchos. I'm like, whoa, hold on there. We had, of course, said that we were all traveling together, and made sure that was noted on our reservations that we wanted to be near each other.
And I can tell you it was, because I know who did that, because I have a
so all that was on there. So I'm like, oh no, they have us all separated. This is, it's kind of an issue. So I looked at I got an email, a welcome email from the Coronado Springs resort manager. Welcome to the resort. Hope you have a good time. Blah, blah, blah. And at the bottom, if you have any problems, whatever, there was like a little click here, and it takes you to like a form where you can submit like a review or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let me just little feedback. So I click on it. Hey, we're still waiting for a lot of our group haven't got their room ready text, but the group members who have are not anywhere near each other, and we had requested to be near each other, and it's kind of a disappointment, as we have there's older people in our group, we have younger people in our group, everybody kind of needs help. I'm like, all right, I don't know what's going to happen. So we go to watch Daughtry. In the middle of the concert, my phone rings, and it's the manager of the resort. It's the general manager. I'm like, oh, so I'm so sorry, I can't hear you. I'm in the middle of listening to a concert. So I'm trying to like cover my ear, tripping over people, trying to run out of the American Gardens Theater so I could hear them. And I was shocked that they called me back, but they, the customer service at Disney is still on. They're still on their game. So we're going to work on it. If you haven't gotten your text yet, just come to the front desk when you get here. We'll get it all straightened out. Great. I go sit back down. About 10 minutes later into the concert, I get another call from like the assistant manager who had just come on, saw the email, wasn't sure if I had been contacted yet. So it was like, all right, they're really paying attention.
They're on this. Yeah, exactly.
They were on it. So I will make the long story short, they did make it right. I went to the front desk when we went to go check in, and everybody in the group was next to like one right in a row, except for me and my husband, who were still in the Casitas building, but they found us a room in that same building, just on the second floor. I was like, oh no, I don't have to be right next to the loud insane family.
Thank you.
So right. I was slip
the
cast member a little $20 bill or something across the thank you so much for putting us over there. Yeah. So that worked out. It was totally fine. It worked out well that we had a little peace and quiet at the end of the night. And then the family landed, and they came. And the only bummer was that because when we arrived finally, it was dark. So I didn't get to have kind of that grand reveal when you pull into your resort although at night, that Grand Casino it's really, really nice. And the room was fantastic. It really has sort of a, deluxe feel to it. Like the
It
finishes
does.
in the room, it has like a really high end finish. It doesn't feel like a moderate resort. And we really, really liked it. We were close to the pool there, and it was Rancho's Building 6A. So we were right there by the pool, just steps from the Three Bridges, which we made use of several times. Three Bridges, that is where it is. That burger, oh, that burger
I've
is
still
very nice.
never eaten at Three Bridges.
Oh no,
I've
you have
eaten
to.
everywhere else a bunch of times, but never Three Bridges. And now
Yeah,
you said you were there 3 times, so I got to give it a shot.
it was fantastic. And again, like every time we would go to sit someplace, I was constantly apologizing to I'm so sorry for if you please, if you don't need to sit us together, we can be in different parts of the restaurant. And they were like, no, no. And they really worked their magic, and they would sit us all together. And it was really good. And, I was very pleased with the level of service. The pool, the kids loved it. The Jaguar slide, they were all about that. So yeah, all of the resort stuff, totally fantastic. So that the next day was our first day at Magic Kingdom. Now the problem is, well, like when we go, it's just the two of us. We get up at the crack of dawn. We go to the park for a couple hours. We come home. We take a nap. We come back to our hotel. We take a nap, and then you go
That's me.
back when
Yes.
it gets cooler at night.
Yep. 100%.
Well, trying to wrangle 17 people out of bed to,
Uh-huh.
get going, that was not happening. So I gave up on that very quickly. And like the earliest we managed to get to a park any morning was about 10.
Oh, that hurts me.
Which it killed my gentle spirit just a little bit. But again, we were on kid time at that point. I wasn't going to deprive the kids of their sleep or whatever, and nothing was going to stress us out. But my sister did want to have that, moment of walking into Magic Kingdom and onto Main Street at the castle reveal with the kids for the first time. And so we wanted to make sure that we could have sent other parts of the group ahead of us, but everybody just for that one time, we can separate however you want after this, but just give her that moment where she gets to see the kids, see the castle. And it was everything that, the big eyes and the wows, and, they'd never seen anything like that. And of course, just as we come in, the Dapper Dans are coming down Main Street, singing.
Nice.
And it was just like everything was timed perfectly. And we stopped to take a picture with one of the PhotoPass photographers, right? We had a PhotoPass, which was great because we only needed one person to have it. And we were all attached to each other with our friends and family group. And so we got all the pictures. So just as we finished that picture, I realized it was time for, I had made reservations for the Tron previews, the DVC preview that morning. And because it was DVC preview, they did allow me to take additional guests. So I could, myself and 4 guests. So I took my husband, my sister and her husband, and then the rest of the family had to Hunger Games it out for that 5th spot.
Some of you are not going to make the cut. I'm just telling you right now. Some will, some won't. This is
you're going to have to impress me, guys, who wants this spot. So we gave it to my cousin, who was the big, huge Disney fan in the family after myself. So we go over there, and we pretty much walked right in. I don't want to give spoilers, but it was very enjoyable. It was a nice coaster. I know people were worried about the seats. I didn't find them uncomfortable. My husband had a total knee replacement a few years back, and he was able to ride it comfortably. The hand grips, like the part that you hold on to with your hands, they're a little rough. Like the metal on them is a little rough. But aside from that, it was, everybody really enjoyed it. And we actually had a second ride in it that night for the annual pass previews. I had signed up for both of them, so I got to ride it in the day, and then we got to ride it again with the lights, with all the lights and the stuff going on.
And stuff,
yeah, and it was a really good addition to the park. And as we were exiting the ride, we're all, like, oh, it was so awesome. And I look over, and there's a guy right next to us, and he's wearing like a suit. And I'm like, what? Who is wearing a suit, like a full-on suit to Magic Kingdom? And I turned to look, and it's Josh Tomorrow.
Yep.
Like
I've seen him in a suit at the Magic parks too.
Right next to me. And I was like, oh, that's who wears a suit to the Magic Kingdom. And I turned and I looked, and I went like, oh, hi. And he looked at me and said, hi. So we just, very nice guy, had a good 2-3 minute conversation with him. He's very approachable.
He is.
He's a very nice guy. We told him how much we enjoyed the ride. I told him that my husband had no trouble riding it with his, with his knee issues, and thanked him for all his hard work. And after I told that to some people, I had a lot of people. Did you tell him to bring back annual passes? Did you tell him? I'm like,
he's heard that 1,000 times. He was just probably glad to hear that you appreciated having a ride on time.
I was
I'm
like,
sure that was good.
Dudes, I'm on vacation, not a crusade.
Seriously. Like, this
I
isn't
just want to go on I just want to go on the ride. Is that okay? So that was really cool. We took a selfie with him because, and he was very cool about that. And then it was just a really, really nice Magic Kingdom day. It was crowded, but we managed to not really wait on lines for anything. We didn't have Genie Plus or anything that day. And I remember telling my sister, she's got 3 kids. Remember, she's got a 1-year-old in a stroller and the 4 and the 6-year-old. And I said, are you getting a stroller for the other 2, for the 4-year-old and the 6-year-old? No, they'll be fine. They can walk.
Oh no!
I'm like, okay,
a stroller. Yeah, no,
because
I didn't want to have to fight that. Yeah, no.
We'll see how that works out for you. And the kids were, they were troopers. They walked everywhere. There was a lot of, Aunt Marissa, will you carry me? Yes, I will carry you because, I'm going
that's why Mallory had a stroller, because I didn't want to carry her everywhere, because that was the next logical consequence to not having a stroller was my back.
So we the kids wanted to ride the Barnstormer first, which was great, and they loved it, and everything is all fine and dandy. We're doing all the rides. We took up like a whole boat on Small World, which was awesome. I'm surprised the boat didn't capsize. And then my niece, the 6-year-old, is she fancied herself a bit of a daredevil until she actually got on some of the rides. Oh yeah, I want to go on such and such, but then would get on it and realize she may have made a mistake. But at least she was willing. She tried it, and then she would come off like, I don't think I want to do that again.
That's because she tried. I mean,
exactly. But at least she tried. But I was a big fan of making sure with something like, there's always that fear, especially things like Haunted Mansion. Like if you take a kid on a ride, especially a dark ride, and it scares them enough, they may not want to go on any dark ride. Rides they can't see the inside of, especially if you try to lie to them and tell them, oh, it's not scary, or oh, this is not a big deal. Then they start to doubt your veracity when you
my
tell
dad
them
when it's still to this day. I was probably like 7, and I was a big chicken when I was a kid, and we were at Six Flags because we couldn't afford to go to Disney when I was a kid. So Six Flags was our thing. He told me we were in line for the log ride. Okay. Like the flume ride at Six Flags. The Screaming Eagle comes ripping into the station, which at the time, this was the fastest and longest roller coaster in the United States at the time. Built in 76, wooden roller coaster. This thing went 70 miles an hour. Nope. He's like, well, no, I'm just kidding. Get on. And I still remember that. I'm 49. Yeah. Good point. I'm glad you brought that up, because it could scar you into your 40s.
I'm a big to this day, I'm 46 years old, and to this day, I still have a visceral fear reaction to the witch from Snow White. Like I literally have to force myself to look if I see her anywhere, because it starts to trigger a panic attack that stems back to,
Snow White Scary Adventures.
Snow White, when I was a kid.
Ride?
So
no,
that's
the first. Okay, back to that ride. Before I even was dating my wife, she took Paige, because Paige is my stepdaughter. She took her when she was like 4 years old. They went to. I taught with her at the time, and I was still a Disney fan, but I didn't have a podcast. I was just a Disney fan at the time. And she's asking me all about going. I'm like, oh yeah, do this. Goes there, just her and Paige. First ride they go on. Paige is like 3 or 4 years old. Takes her on Scary Adventures of Snow White. I'm like, what are you doing? It's right there in the title. She was crying. I'm like, it says the Scary Adventures. What did you expect?
They tried to warn you.
I still am like, oh, you couldn't have gone on Small World or, Teacups. I mean, you're in Fantasyland, ride the carousel. Come on now. So, we still joke about that.
So you got to make sure that you're at least being upfront with the kids about stuff.
Yeah, totally.
So that first day was a total success. Everybody had a good time. We had our Cinderella's Royal Table reservation that afternoon at 2. They got us seated all right smack dab in the middle of the restaurant. I haven't been there since I was a kid, and I've heard a lot of people sort of bag on the restaurant, on the food or what. It's not. It's a pricey meal, but you're really paying for the character interaction. So I can
Right.
understand people being maybe a little disappointed when the princesses had gone away during right after COVID and all that. But the princess, it literally just came back like a week ago, and they went up to all the kids. It was Ariel, Aurora, and Jasmine in the restaurant. Cinderella was downstairs, and I thought the food was fantastic. It was, it was really, really nicely done. It was a great break for everybody in the middle of the day to just sit in the air conditioning and take their time. And that was very, very enjoyable. I'm glad that we did that, and all the kids loved it to pieces. And then after that, we took them on the Haunted Mansion and scarred some more of the children
That's what
for
you
life.
do. Nice.
Right.
Eat in a castle, scarred for
And
life.
then scar the children for life.
A couple of points about Cinderella's Royal Table. One is that it's beautiful, the environment as well. Like, it's just so cool when you're in there. It's just, it looks gorgeous on the inside. But also, this is the thing I think is kind of underrated about eating at Cinderella's Royal Table. I know it costs a fortune to eat there, and you're probably not going to eat there every trip. You're going to do it, once every, long time. But I still, every time like I see a Disney movie and that title, card comes up with Cinderella's, and you see like the castle and the moat, like at the beginning of a movie, like that still reminds me of the meal that we had, like when Paige and one of our very first trips, we splurged on Cinderella's Royal Table when we were on the Disney dining plan. Yeah. And I just remember like that was like the greatest day because I was like, we have made it. We are eating inside Cinderella Castle. And
that's
so
like
every time I
reached
see
the
a Disney
pinnacle.
movie, it takes me right there, so it's like a little,
like
I don't know if
when
it does that for everybody else, but yeah.
When they open the door to let us in downstairs, because after they call you and Cinderella's down there, everybody takes their picture with her one at a time. When my niece walked in, her eyes got to be like the size of saucers, and Mommy, it's the real Cinderella. And like she was over the moon. Quick, get my autograph book. The whole thing. She was just beside herself. Just thought that was the best thing ever. And so that was like I was checking things off my list. All right, I got everybody's room together. Check. All right, everybody got the picture at the Magic Kingdom together. Check. Yep. All right, and the meal at Cinderella's
castle. Yeah, met Cinderella.
Right, 8 in the castle. Check it off the list. So, meanwhile, just getting around the parks with a crowd that large. What I needed was a flag in the front and like your Brazil, like an Aussie, a Brazilian tour guide, exactly. And then like an Australian shepherd at the back, nipping at their heels to keep them all together. Which actually was my husband most of the time at the back of the group, trying to make sure that nobody got left behind. But ultimately, really, it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. I was sort of dreading, having to stop every 2 seconds because somebody had to go to the bathroom or who dropped their ice cream. And we stopped for ice cream a lot. Stop for ice cream a lot. Take breaks. Don't, especially if you're going with a group that big, you have to manage your expectations. I knew we weren't going to get to do everything. There were some things we really wanted to do, and we prioritized that stuff. But mostly it's about trying to make sure everybody's comfortable and happy. The kids wanted a slushie, we stopped and got a slushie. If the kids wanted a pretzel, everybody gets a pretzel. Somebody needed to, go to the bathroom, it was all fine. So you really have to manage your expectations with a large group and just prioritize the things that are important and understand there's no way you're going to do everything. My goal really was to make sure that the kids enjoyed themselves enough where they would want to force their parents to bring them back another, or at least let Aunt Marissa take them.
It's a good goal though. You just want to, because you're not going to see everything, but you want to make them get bit by the bug, right? To make it seem like that it's accessible, it's fun. It's not as challenging as people might think, because I think some people think that it's a mountain to be climbed to go to Walt Disney World. It's not. Yes, you do have to make theme park reservations. Yes, you have to make advanced dining reservations. You have to plan out things. There is some work to it. 100% there is. Well, but it's not insurmountable like some people seem to think.
And we did have quite a few technological glitches. The rest of the family didn't realize just how technology savvy you sort of have to be now to plan a Disney trip. It's not just you book it, you show up, and you pull your fast pass out of the machine like it used to be back in the day. it's very complicated. And when you have 17 people in your friends and family list, it gets super complicated.
Yes. Right.
So we go to Hollywood Studios the next day. By the end of the day, the kids were so bone tired that my sister finally realized that it was time to rent the stroller. So we rented a stroller after that, and the kids made very, very good use of that. I do recommend. There is no too old for a stroller. What there is too old to carry your butt around the park. Let's put you in a stroller. That's what I'm all about. So Hollywood Studios was fantastic because many members of our group had never been on Rise of the Resistance, and they are huge Star Wars fans. So watching my 35-year-old cousin on the ride, with tears running down his face.
I think that age of person, even people like myself, like late 40s, right? Because we've grown up with that universe, but we've always had to imagine, okay, what would it be like to be on the Death Star? What would it be like to be on a Star Destroyer? What would it be like to be, being interrogated by the, Imperial forces? And then all of a sudden, like, oh my gosh, like I am on a Star Destroyer, like I am in the movie. This is my childhood alive.
It's really happening.
Yeah, it's emotional, man. And you see, the first time I saw the Millennium Falcon, man, I had to pick my tongue off the ground. I was like, I cannot believe it. It's full size. It's parked there.
It's right there in front of me. So we did actually bite the bullet on the Hollywood Studios day, and we bought Lightning Lane. And I was a little scared. And we're on the bus on the way in, and we're all huddled together, the adults. All right, guys, what do you think? Should we do it? And I'm like, well, we have to pay. And as it turns out, really, the only way to buy Lightning Lane, or at least for some reason that day, you couldn't just buy it for some of your group. Somebody had to buy it for the entire group. There was no way to just pick it for certain members of your traveling party. Every time we wanted to buy the Genie Plus, it had to be purchased for everybody in your list. So basically we ended up buying it for, I think we did it at Hollywood Studios, and then also on our second Magic Kingdom day. One person bought it for the group on one day, somebody bought it for on the second day. And then there were like two people that for some reason didn't show up on the list, that the other person picked up that. So we all kind of shared the expense of everything at some point. So that was a little bit, challenging when we realized that you had to do everybody all for the Genie Plus. But, then we made great use of it. We got on Midway Mania. We got on Alien Swirling Saucers. We got on Tower of Terror. We got on Smuggler's Run, all of those things without, with the Lightning Lane without any wait. And that was fantastic. With the and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So we pretty much hit all the greatest hits of Hollywood Studios with the Lightning Lanes.
You guys were
yes, we did do Slinky because the kids insisted they wanted to do Slinky Dog. We ended up waiting for that one, and it was the only ride we waited for, and it wound up being like a 90-minute wait because the ride broke while we were waiting.
Of course.
But that was the ride we realized that the Daredevils were not quite the Daredevils we thought, because the screams of terror were just, they were hilarious. But she got off that ride and. No, that I take it back. Well, then oddly enough, when it was time to go on Tower of Terror, my niece insisted, yeah, I'm going on Tower of Terror. And so my brother-in-law was trying to explain to her what it is. And he's like, well, it's like an elevator. It goes up and then it brings you back down, and you just kind of go up and down. And I'm like, I feel like you are not describing this ride accurately enough to her. Because she was certainly not expecting it to go up and down the way it went up and down.
Yes.
And she's sitting next to me screaming bloody murder, screaming that she's cut, because, you get that like airtime in the seat. She thinks she's falling out of the ride. She's screaming. My sister's screaming behind. Like, it's just the screams of my family was music to my ears at that point.
Yes.
And so it was probably the greatest ride I've ever been on. So I'm like trying to hold on to her because she, thinks she's falling out, but she's not. And it was one of those that was one of the more memorable moments, was riding Tower of Terror with actual terrified family members. And
it's a memory forever, though. Like, you'll remember that. Remember that time you thought you were gonna fly out of the top of the tower? Yeah.
Yep.
That was fun.
And so we wrapped up that day with Runaway Railway, which of course the kids loved because they all felt like they were in the middle of a cartoon. And in fact, the baby, the 1-year-old, was a delight the whole trip. No, there was no meltdowns. There was no diaper explosions. There was no, he was just watching everything, taking it all in, enjoying, taking naps wherever he needed to take a nap, and
God bless him.
it was all good. Yeah, I was jealous. How come he gets to take a nap? The rest of us
Yeah,
have to keep
no
going.
kidding. Yeah, yeah, I get jealous of that too nowadays.
Mhm. So we planned a rest day in the middle, right in the middle of the trip. So we did Magic Kingdom, Hollywood Studios. Our third day was our rest day. We had a Chef Mickey's late breakfast, and then we were going to sort of have the birthday party for my sister back at the pool later in the day. So we take the bus over. We were going to take the bus from Coronado to Magic Kingdom, and then hop on the monorail over to the Contemporary. And as we're driving on the bus driver was cracking jokes, and he was a really, really good bus driver. And we're kind of almost to where the Contemporary is, and he says, "Anybody on here going to Chef Mickey's for breakfast?" So we all cheered. And he's like, "Well, I'm going to drop you guys right off at the hotel." So he pulled over and he dropped us right off
Wow.
at the front of the Contemporary. I'm like, little pixie dust.
That's
The family's
service. Yeah, they don't do that usually. That's
I was
great.
like, "This is great." The family totally thinks I arranged for that, which is awesome.
Yeah,
I'm like,
just
"Yeah, no, it
and
was
you
all me, you
did. You
guys."
did. Yeah, don't I mean, hey,
That's
if they think that, well, no
that's
reason to
right. I'm
tell them
gonna
you didn't.
gonna
Yeah.
roll with that. So breakfast was really good. Chef Mickey's, you don't go for the food, you go for the characters and
Right.
which is totally fine. Then we hopped on the monorail, took that back to Magic Kingdom because the kids wanted to ride the monorail. And then took it back, and we spent the day at the pool. We had other family members come up. My uncle, another uncle, and his wife were staying in Tampa. They came up for the day. My nephew is in college in Miami. He came up for the day. My sister's best friend and her husband and their son were staying at Universal Studios for the week, so they came over. So suddenly our party of 17 ballooned into like 30 people. Some family members who live right outside Orlando came, and it was just a fun, relaxing, everybody hanging by the pool, having the special cake that we had made. And it was really enjoyable. And then at one point, my husband and I snuck away to Three Bridges for, I think that was the second meal there of the trip, for just a little quiet moment of just the two of us. A pro tip: get the burger if you have not had the
I'm gonna
the
try it.
burger
I love
at Three
burgers. Yeah.
Bridges. You must. It was fantastic. It really was. And we don't usually eat burgers when we're at Disney. We can do better. But so we did that, and the next day was Animal Kingdom, and that's the day that things sort of went off the rails a little bit, not through any of our faults, but my brother-in-law's sister joined us that morning for the trip, and I'm like, "Oh, great, let's add her to our friends and family list." So when I did, for whatever reason, my Disney experience replaced her on the reservation completely, replaced my brother-in-law with her. It completely wiped him off of everybody's friends and family list, took him off the room reservation, got rid of his park ticket. So we
Right.
discovered
Just
this.
because those things shouldn't even be connected, by the way. The room reservation and that
It
shouldn't
was
even
so
be, they shouldn't
weird.
even be associated. But
The
let
photo
me just tell
pass,
you, that's my life. It does not surprise
yeah,
me. I'm
it
just
was very strange. And I knew something was wrong because we were looking at our pictures, our photo pass pictures, and suddenly the watermark reappeared on them. So it wiped
Yep.
out his memory
Memory
maker,
maker.
everything. So we're standing at the gates of Animal Kingdom, and that's when a plaid came over with the magic iPad and
Hmm.
discovered you don't you don't exist anymore. So after explaining everything that happened, they went over to guest services and got it straightened out in so much as they could straighten it out. And for their troubles, they gave everybody in the party 2 anytime lightning lanes for us to use at Magic Kingdom the next day, which was great. So we
Nice.
just enjoyed Animal Kingdom. Everything was as smooth as it was going to get. And we did the safari. We took the kids on the Nemo show, Lion King, and the kids loved all of that stuff. They went on at the Flight of Passage. We took them on the Navi River journey, and we didn't have lightning lane, so it was a lot of waiting online. And uh, we noticed my niece was starting to complain that her throat hurt, and
No, no.
as it turned out, she had strep. So my sister had to get like physicians that they have on call will come right to your hotel room. She had called the front desk, and so we went back to the hotel, and a doctor actually came to the. These are not inexpensive doctor
Yeah.
visit. I think she said it was about $300 for the doctor to come out, something to that effect. But he had a little traveling pharmacy with him and was able to diagnose her with the strep, got her started right away on an antibiotic, and she was able to rock on. And nobody else caught strep from her, which was good. So then the kids had the stroller that day, so there was a lot less walking. Everyone was happy. And then we went to Magic Kingdom for our last day, and that was the day we ended it with the fireworks. The kids wanted to go on Barnstormer again because they had loved it so much. We got some of them on Big Thunder. Some of them, my niece had decided roller coasters were not what you wanted anymore after
Good
that.
call. There's no problem. Just kind of sitting and enjoying it from the sidelines there if you make your call.
Yeah, exactly. And we actually, as we're walking around from Tomorrowland over towards the castle, we just happened to walk right in the middle of like the cavalcade coming down the street. So we had like stumbled right into a front row spot for the cavalcade, and the kids were, laughing and waving and just love it. Like it was a lot of stuff like that. We would turn a corner and Tigger's standing right there, and the kids would freak out because, oh my God, it's Tigger. And that's the stuff about Disney that I love the most, is you could just stumble upon little magic stuff like that along the way. But it was, for all intents and purposes, a trip this big can be done. You just have to manage your expectations and have people who are willing to just kind of go with the flow. When stuff goes wrong, all right, well, what do we do to fix it? And we fixed all the things, and the cast members were great. And really the only negative that we ended the trip with had nothing to do with Disney itself. My husband did test positive for COVID on our last day.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was a 9-hour drive home to North Carolina in masks, because I do not have COVID, but he does. And somehow still miraculously, days later, I am still without COVID and he is not.
Oh my gosh. So,
and the only one of the 17 of us.
That's a miracle too, right there. I mean, come on now. Because, 2020, like if you'd have looked at somebody, you'd have thought, okay, you're wiping the whole family out.
Exactly.
So at least we're there. But, so much to talk about, but because we're running short on time here, but it's been fun going on this journey with your family here. Like, I mean, I'm so jealous of this trip, because the thing is, what I've learned over the past decade is that Walt Disney World is the most fun when you get to go with the people that you love, right? With your friends and your family, and you get to make those memories together. That's what I've learned. I mean, as fun as it is to go on Space Mountain or to see the fireworks or go to your favorite restaurant, it's not as fun unless you're with the people that you love. And you got to do that with the kids, with your, your siblings, and with your, significant others and all. I mean, just your crew was there, which I think made it really awesome. But I think the thing that made this trip successful, just listening to it from my perspective, is that, you had a lot of Disney fans in your party, but you as a point person, being an annual pass holder, being a DVC member, being somebody who's very connected into, if this doesn't go wrong, here are the resources that I have in my back pocket. Like you said, I can go to a Plaid. If something's not working in a theme park, I can go to one of those guest experience kiosks, the blue umbrellas. You knew how to contact the manager at Coronado Springs. When you have somebody in your party like that, if you're fortunate, not everybody has this. That's why I think your trip was so successful, right? Is that there was a point person, yourself, that was able to kind of take things by the reins when things could have unraveled, and kind of brought everything back and put it on the rails, which, I mean, your family's lucky to have you. And I think that made you happy, because everybody got to have such a better experience because of that.
Yeah, exactly. And it's stuff that it's not intuitive, a lot of the stuff. So I feel bad for people who don't know all the ins and outs, but if you're going to try to do something like this, something big, you get somebody on your side, whether it's a great travel agent, you need somebody who can tell you these things. I kept joking with the family. I said, and my commission for this trip will be.
Yeah, you should. I mean, because, and that's the thing too, is right. Like that's what I do full time, work and travel, but I'm not there boots on the ground, like going through the parks with my guests. That's one of the things That'd be fun. That'd be a lot more fun than sitting in my office and typing
Yeah.
in, names and stuff into, reservations all day. But, I'd much rather be like, okay, right now we should probably go get ready for the parade or the
Yeah.
fireworks. But, I can't do that. But when somebody's there that has the knowledge to solve the problems and just to kind of steer, not in a mean way, but just to make those like suggestions, like we should
Yeah.
probably do this now, or we should probably take a break, after a few
Yeah.
days in the theme parks. It'd be better. How about some cake by the dig site pool? When you said that, I'm like, that's vacation. And that's a 50th birthday party. Like
Yeah.
that fifth day in the theme park when it's hot and busy, you're kind of trudging along, but I bet you'll remember that day as much as, a day at the Magic Kingdom. That'll probably be the day you remember most, I would guess.
Absolutely. Yeah, the
That's awesome.
vacations aren't fun when your feet feel like they've been beaten with baseball bats at the end of the day.
I've been there.
Nobody's having fun. They're all just kind of, it's like it becomes with I call it the death march, where
Totally.
nobody wants.
Been there. But I'm like, because there's been times like, what am I doing here? Like I'll be at the Magic Kingdom for like an hour and I'll be like, why am I here? Why am I not at the pool? Like I'm staying at Coronado or I'm staying at Caribbean Beach. Like there's an awesome pool, Old Key West. Like why am I just sitting at the pool? Like that'd be way more fun at this point. My feet are killing me. It's 100 degrees.
Absolutely.
What am I doing? Yeah, totally. No, I get so well. Hey, we got to run, but I appreciate you coming on. What a great way to start the week. And I'm so glad you guys had a successful party. Your sister hopefully had a great birthday and the family made memories they'll remember for life. And the kids will get to go back with Aunt Marissa, right? Tell me.
Anytime. I'm ready. Bring it on.
That's great.
Maybe just a couple at a time.
That's it. Whatever it takes. I mean, you get to go more that way. So that's
right.
A win-win. I mean, that's how you look at it. Well, again, thanks for coming on the show. It's been wonderful. And we'll do it again next time you have another great. And thanks for sharing the Tron stuff too. That's going to help folks out too. Thank you.
It was great.
All right. Don't forget our show is brought to you by the Magic for Less Travel. Check them out for all your Disney trip planning needs. The agents are standing by right now to help you plan a great Walt Disney World, Disneyland, Disney Cruise Line, or Adventures by Disney trip. Remember, there's some great specials out there for this summer for Walt Disney World right now. Disney Visa offers. If you have a Disney Visa, like I do, I have my little Millennium Falcon card in my wallet. That can save me some money. And we have those dining promo cards as well for select packages. So if you want to get on that, just come over to themagicforless.com, fill out that free, no obligation quote form. We'll take care of you from there. Again, check them out today over at themagicforless.com. Please also use our Amazon affiliate link. It's beourguestpodcast.com/Amazon. And a sincere thank you to the patrons of the Be Our Guest Podcast. You make these shows possible. Couldn't do it without you. And our patrons get that bonus show called Mike in the Midwest every week. If you'd like to join us, we'd sure love to have you. Come on over, patreon.com/Be Our Guest Podcast. Give me a follow on the social media at Be Our Guest Mike, Instagram and Twitter. Would love to talk to you this week on the socials. And prepare to join us this Sunday night on Facebook and YouTube Live, where we'll be taking your calls. It's 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central. It's the BOGP open line Sunday night. Give us a call. All right, time to get out of here and let you get on with your week. Thanks for hanging with us, and we'll be back again on Wednesday with more of your listener questions. So for Marissa down in North Carolina, I'm Mike here in Missouri. You guys have a great week. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon. Boom. Thank you. That was busy. Holy cow. I'm more out. I ain't taking a nap. I'm going to take a nap.
So we all need a nap after that one.
That was a good one. Everybody loved it in the chat. So yeah, beautiful. So thank you so much. And thanks for letting me help you with the trip. It was wonderful. I'm glad it all worked. This makes me happy.
Yeah, it was great. Everybody was very happy, Mike. We really can't thank you enough for all your help.
No, thank you. My family appreciates it. So if you ever need anything, you just give me a yell and we'll do another show sometime. This is hoot and a half.
Sounds good. Have a good night.
Take care. You have a good night. Say hi to the horses.